So I got a ton of tweets over the weekend that were asking me, "Hey David, are you going to be at the Straight Pride Parade in Boston this weekend? It's happening. You should be there. You should interview people. You should counter protest or whatever because you live in Boston anyway." And no, I didn't go for safety reasons because I didn't want to give it any attention. I ended up actually being out of the city anyway, as I often am, both during the weekend and after during the weekend. But this is not an event that appealed to me. The event happened. There were straight pride paraders. There were counter protesters, actually more counter protesters than paraders. There was a massive police presence. My contacts in law enforcement and the intel community told me that they were really busy managing all of the different threats and extremist groups that were expected to come in. There were more people protesting the parade than people marching for straight pride. In total, there were about 35 or 36 arrests in total. I don't know what percentage of those arrests were marchers versus counter protesters. I'm guessing at some point soon we will have that information. The marchers definitely had some themes in their messages. Support our troops was a theme. Build the wall was a theme. Great to be straight is a theme. A lot of pro-Trump stuff, just make America great again and this type of thing. Some people were hurt. 9 people ended up at area hospitals. So people here already know my feelings about this type of parade in general. A straight pride parade is unnecessary in the sense that it's not just if you have a gay pride parade, then obviously everything's fine and you should have a straight pride parade. The idea behind a gay pride parade is that we are talking about a historically marginalized and discriminated against group whose place in society good people want to affirm. Most people are straight. People don't get fired for being straight. Straight people have always been able to get married to those to whom they are attracted. I don't even want to dignify that part any further. The idea of, a white pride group, a white student union or whatever as the same thing as a Latino student union. Well, you're not talking about a historically marginalized and oppressed group, and we have to really examine what the motivations are of a lot of those groups, and the motivations aren't good, okay? So that's where we're going to stop with that analysis because it's such a stupid analysis that it doesn't even need to be done. One reason I didn't go is I don't want to give them attention. I think counter-protesting is totally valid, but they aren't really marching for straight pride. They are marching to anger people. They are marching to trigger and own the libs, as they like to say. And some of them are marching because they genuinely struggle with their masculinity, but that's a whole other story, which we're not going to talk about today. Very few of them actually show up to this stuff to really protest. And again, there were more counter protesters this time around. What would happen if nobody showed up to counter protest? And however many people, I don't even know how many marchers there were. Was it a few dozen? Was it 100 people? A couple? I don't know. Imagine if no one gave them any attention. They show up, they march around with their MAGA hats and their build the wall signs, and they're totally ignored. No one protests. No one cares. No one tries to fight the permit for the parade. They are just ignored. No one writes about it. They are irrelevant. I think that actually is a really great scenario. Now, again, I was out of town anyway, and there were all sorts of security concerns in terms of some of the extremist groups that were coming in. But these are just small groups of people doing really dumb things. What if we did just ignore them? Now, other perspectives are valid. When Bernie Sanders chose to do a Fox News town hall, the idea being, I'm going to go right in there and talk directly to people who might be on the right, and maybe I can convince them. And Elizabeth Warren said, I'm not going to participate at all because I don't want to dignify, in some sense, hate for profit Fox News and give them ratings. Both of those perspectives are valid. I respect what Elizabeth Warren did, and I think Bernie Sanders crushed it in his debate. But both are valid approaches. In the same way, you can take the perspective that a large showing of peace and love by counter-protesters at the Straight Pride Parade is the best way to fight against the message of the Straight Pride Parade. That's fine. I opted for a different path, and I wonder if every time they try to organize one of these, they just get the permit and nobody cares. People go and do other things. They go to the great museums in Boston. They go to all of the different great things that there are to do in Boston, and they just don't give any attention to these people. Would they keep doing these parades? Something tells me that they probably would not. They would not be doing this if no one paid attention, because the whole point of it is to get attention. So I didn't go. I wasn't there. I was out of the city in any case, but I would not have gone if I was in town, to be totally honest with you.